Much of what we've heard today, and much of what concerns us in the world, are life and death issues. But not everything important is also extreme. And I'm here to talk about something very ordinary, which is emerging as one of the most important issues of our time, which is how do we deliver children's rights in our newly connected world? So I'm going to start by introducing you to George. George is 14 years old, lives in Oxford, and she's late for school this morning because in the middle of the night she got a message. Seems that her best friend Emily has been kissing a boy. She's tired, but before she leaves her house, she checks for bus times, sends a Snapchat, updates her Fitbug, clicks attending the party. Only 4 minutes left before the bus comes, so no time for breakfast. Now, what George doesn't know is that in the 10 weeks since she got her telephone, her data has been analyzed by the powerful algorithms of no less than 476 companies. And what they have determined at 8:15 this particular Tuesday morning is what she needs is a half-price donut from the shop that Google rates as the most popular with pupils of Lovelace School. At school, the picture circulates underneath the desk, and Emily and George want to tell a teacher, but they're anxious about telling tales. Emily is increasingly distraught. The boy goes home, and George is upset because she can't help. But her day's getting worse. Today is parents' evening, and George's parents are repeatedly told that she's tired, distracted, underachieving. So when she gets home, she's sent to her room to do her homework, where she's interrupted messages, updates, ads, alerts, and her own desperate desire to download the new Adele single. She might have gone to the gym as she intended. She might have gone to the movies with friends. She might even have read the 19,972 words of the iTunes terms and conditions that she just ticked. But it's 12:30 by the time she's done her work. And what she does do, what she can't resist, is one more scroll through her day. But everybody else seems to have had a better time than her. And it leaves her feeling lonely. Sad, actually. Now, okay, George is a cartoon. She's not real. But her day, her lousy day, is familiar to millions of young people. And though the technology is not all to blame, the technology that should be making her day better is actually making it worse. Now, I could have chosen a bad day, a day on which bullying led to self-harm or suicide, a day on which a child was accused of extremism, had their savings scammed, their sexuality or their mental health issues revealed. I could have chosen any number of bad days because I'm afraid I know any number of children who have had those bad days. But I chose a perfectly ordinary day. An ordinary day on which something extraordinary was happening. Because George's needs and rights, along with tens of millions of children around the world in billions of daily interactions, were routinely ignored. Rights that protect her from commercial exploitation. Rights that give her privacy. Rights that demand we take her best interests as paramount. Rights to the highest goals in education. Rights to take her views into account. Rights that state we should treat her in no way unfairly. Rights that respect her status as a minor. You see, at 14, we don't actually expect her to be fully mature or fully responsible. Because she's under 18, we understand that she's vulnerable. So how extraordinary is it that her vulnerability is not recognized to be the same on and offline? Extraordinary, because one of the first principles of human rights is that they apply whomever you are and wherever you are. The utopian vision of internet technologies was that it would treat us all equally. And as good as that sounds, it presents us with a problem. Because if it treats us all equally, then de facto it treats a child as if they were an adult. And a child is a child until they mature, not until the moment that they reach for their smartphone. You see, in the 20th century, huge efforts were made to quantify the needs of a child. These were codified as rights in the 54 articles of the United Nations Charter on the Rights of the Child. Why on earth, in the 21st century, are we throwing all that away? 5rights is a framework that's designed to deliver children's rights online. Started in the United Kingdom, supported by scores of companies and organizations, it doesn't challenge the Charter, but it seeks to make certain its articles apply across the digital world. The 5 rights are the right to remove, that is to say, easily remove what you yourself put up. It doesn't challenge freedom of speech, but gives a young person more control over their online identity, more ownership over their own history. The right to know who and what and why and for what purposes your data is being exchanged, and meaningful, and I do mean meaningful choice over whether to engage in that exchange. The right to safety and support. That is illegal must be pursued by the law. But much of what upsets young people is not illegal. And support is sparse, fragmented, and often invisible to those who need it most. The right to informed and conscious use. It is simply undemocratic to loop young people into a technology that is deliberately designed to keep them there, designed on the same principles as a casino slot machine. Addicting is what product designers call it. Addicting is what product designers work towards. And digital literacy, sophisticated understanding of the purposes of the technology you are using, growing up as a creator, not just a consumer, and a clear understanding of the likely social outcomes. The principle is unassailable. But what about George, and what would it mean to her? What if George's phone said, "How much sleep do you want?" and then automatically turned off, allowing her that amount of time so she could wake up rested? What if she was able to opt out of data without being denied use of service, so she had the advantages of the digital world, but companies couldn't pester her? Or what if she and Emily had a real-time understanding of how their data was spreading and some tools to prevent the spread? What if, when she was busy, her phone replied to incoming messages saying, "I'm busy"? so that she could introduce the idea of unavailability into her life without losing her online presence? What if, when something went wrong, she could report it anonymously? Anonymity is not always bad. Or if it was standard to have a point of contact at school, just like it is for pastoral or academic care. What if providers and platforms actually put the best interests of young people at the center of their design and encourage spaces and times where on and off were not the only options? And what if she was able to gather together in a digital pocketbook all the support services she might need, so if she did hit a problem, there was somewhere obvious and immediate to go, wherever she was in the digital world? You see, it's really fashionable to say that tech moves too fast, the companies are too strong, we have to accept them exactly as it is now. But that's not so. All of those interventions in George's day are things that are being designed and built as we speak. Designed and built to prove that children's rights can be delivered as standard in the technology that we all use. And what about George? She slept better, ate better, learned better. In fact, she had an altogether better day, a day in which she was less vulnerable and able to make better choices for herself. You see, technology is easy to change. It's culture that's hard. Individuals are lazy, institutions are slow, and corporations are almost insatiable in their desire for data. And we keep on being told that tech is different. And yet, if any of these practices happened offline, we would not say it's too difficult, too costly, too inconvenient to deliver a child's rights. We would insist. And for those of you who think this may be a problem only for young people like George, who already have access to multiple devices, I say no. Technology is the greatest tool for development. And in the next decade, 1 billion or more people will come online. Very many of those will be under 18. And very many of those will be offered connectivity by a single provider owned by a single commercial company. If we do not enshrine at the very heart of that connectivity children's rights, then we will see an erosion of rights, a further erosion of rights. We cannot afford, we simply cannot afford to ossify the inequalities of the current world when we have such a powerful tool for change in our hands. What do we do? What do you do? What do we all do? We insist that children's rights that already exist, have existed for decades, are applied to every interaction of the digital world. We insist that all institutions, civil and commercial, international and national, fulfill their obligations to the young, alongside the International Telecommunications Union and the United Nations agencies. We insist that we design and implement a standard, all the rights that children enjoy offline. Not to mollycoddle or to pamper, but to enable. Not to keep them offline, but to support their presence online. You see, It is their role to access digital technologies creatively, knowledgeably, and fearlessly. It is our role to uphold their rights so that they can do so. So that even on an ordinary day, every child has the right to be a child online. Only then can we start to tackle the bad days. Thank you.